in the kitchen.
All right, here we are.
God.
We're here.
Hello.
I mean, usually I get a little bit of like a heads up, guys. Like,
Good evening.
10 minutes, 15. You're like, we're on in 10. I'm like, all right, 10 minutes. You're like, 10 seconds.
You
It's
got
coming
it.
up
You made
now.
it.
But I'm here, guys.
Yeah,
I
congrats.
made it to Bushwick
This is
It's
a
true.
blessing.
Yeah.
via the 6 train to the L
6 to the
Those are some
To-
good trains.
to Morgan
Mm-hmm.
to walking from Morgan to 199 Cook.
199 Cook Street.
You got it.
I don't
Here
think
you
we've
are.
ever said the address on this show. We're here. At
Now,
199
and
Cook.
I walked by Aval, a Persian eatery, which I'd heard
Ooh.
about. And I just thought it was so far away that I would never go, even though I am Iranian by birth and Southern by the grace of God.
Are you more likely to go
Yeah.
now?
Now I might go because I'm like, this was not as hard as I
Right.
thought it was. It was the 6 train from 51st
Mm-hmm.
to the L.
I am surprised. I shouldn't be surprised, but sometimes I'm surprised that people don't come into Brooklyn regularly.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I come
2,
in
3
for this podcast.
Oh, really?
It seems daunting to those of us who live in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes 2-3 times in a day back and forth. from
Wow.
Brooklyn
Wow.
down. Yeah.
Well, now that I
3
see
is
it,
a lot.
now that I see it, it's not as big a deal as I thought.
It's and
It's the 6 train
there's
to the L.
to
Those
the
are
L.
good trains. Yeah.
And there's a lot of extension of a lot of improv happening in Brooklyn. A lot of that world happening.
I'd love
here.
to be a part of it. I'd love to come see it. I'd love to play. I'd love to watch. Love to check out the different, whatever is happening. Again, like I said, I'm caught up in my own stuff right now. Just I have a certain amount of bandwidth.
Sure.
true.
Everybody does.
I've got
Yeah.
home chores and I've got work chores.
Yeah.
And a lot of property management.
A lot of it. Okay, we're going to talk about all this right now.
Hey.
On No Suggestion.
Welcome to No
I'm
Suggestion.
Ralph Jean-Pierre, co-host Aston-Hollins
Hey,
is here.
we have a special guest this
Very
evening.
special guest, a big get, everybody.
Big fish.
Ali Reza Farahnakian.
I love it. Wow. My full
Welcome.
name. And I'm a big get. Jeez, I should have looked up who else has done the show.
Who else has done it?
That's all right. You don't have to tell me, but I'm just
Higgins, we were just talking about.
Every improviser.
I've worked up, so this is like episode 100. I don't know if I asked you before, but I waited. I was like, okay, I need
You
to
waited?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah, we got to build up.
And I told you it was hard. For me, I was looking for every reason to back out.
It was
today.
hard to say yes.
It was hard to say yes. And look, a high quality no thank you is also good. I try to say yes and until I have to say no thank you.
Sure.
But for those of us who are living in New York right now, it is brutally cold.
Very
Yeah,
cold.
yeah,
Yes.
super cold.
It's cold.
One
right?
of the coldest days maybe of the whole
A long
year.
while.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how would we appreciate the summer days without days like today?
That's true.
That's exactly how
how
I
would we
feel.
appreciate the joy without the pain?
I
you
really
know?
love the seasons. I
In-
love it.
I love them too. Yeah.
In Chicago, when I lived there in the 90s for a decade, you could tell on the first beautiful day how different the city was because we'd all been through that winter together. So no matter who you were like appreciative and happy, and it was beautiful. And I love
Yeah.
Chicago in the summer.
These flowers are beautiful.
Oh,
Mary.
so beautiful.
I'm touched.
I look forward to this every year.
I'm moved by them. Yeah, I feel like when these flowers bloom, it's just
It's like I'm reborn too in the springtime.
You should buy them for her. She likes them. You're looking at them together. I mean, we're not just a coffee shop. We're also flowers.
That's right.
I didn't expect there to be flowers sold here. We're writing a screenplay
Yes.
together, and
Mhm.
Wonderful. Please tell me.
We're creatively stuck actually at the moment.
Well,
yeah.
you have to be willing to just not be a perfecto. See, right now
Right.
there are so many flower coffee shops coming up everywhere.
Is that so?
Somebody
seems
figured
niche.
out that it is something that people want a flowers and they want a coffee.
That's true. People love flowers and coffee.
If you're stuck with your screenplay, just resign yourself to writing a shitty screenplay.
Okay.
Because you're trying to write a perfect. And you see, in the flower world, there is no perfect flower. Every flower is flawed, but every flower is beautiful.
I am
Wow.
mesmerized by how you're making the little design.
It's
of the
beautiful.
hearts as you're speaking. I feel
Well,
like you're a poet.
Latte art, for an incredibly long amount of time, nobody did anything to the foam.
That's true.
it's just like the heart hands, you know, when you take your hands and you make a heart. We've had hands for millions of years,
That's
but only
true.
in the last, and I don't want to say I was the one who came up with it, but at least I was the early adopter of taking the hands and making a heart.
Wow.
I just noticed this, Annie. He drew your face in the middle of that
It's
heart.
beautiful.
In espresso.
Espresso.
Oh, excuse me, espresso.
Espresso.
This man is amazing. He created latte art.
You
Essentially,
created the heart hands?
he created the heart hands.
Let
That's
me-
one of my favorite emojis.
I used to wear a white shirt to work. And in that white folded shirt from the dry cleaner, there was a piece of cardboard to keep it flat. And in that piece of cardboard, I would cut out a heart and I would take the cinnamon and the nutmeg on the foam of the latte and I would sprinkle it. And that
the
was the
idea.
first art I would make, was a heart or a moon or a star on the latte, on the foam.
Wow. It was a brand new untapped medium just waiting to be explored.
Annie, I think I know how to end
You know how to get us
screenplay.
unstuck?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to share your idea?
At the end of the screenplay,
Yeah.
the character will leave their family and
Okay.
go off and pursue their dream
Okay.
of opening a coffee shop.
And discovering latte art.
There is room for a latte art and a coffee shop anywhere and everywhere.
I would like 12 dozen roses, please.
Scene.
Seen and done.
Very good.
Wow.
Very good.
For a second there, I was like, are they going into an improv scene?
Yes.
It happened so quickly. You said that there might be some improv. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden, I felt it.
It happens.
This is an improv talk show.
Yes.
Okay.
Improv that will happen hopefully 3 more times somewhere in this hour.
The rule of
can
threes.
start. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's try to keep
Rule
it to
of 4.
3. Rule of 4 here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be
Well, then
3
you kind
more.
of got to go to 5.
You can
If you go
exceed-
past the rule of 3, you've
think-
got to go to 5.
I think we've been as high as maybe 8.
Wow.
At
Wow.
least 7.
Okay, 7, yes. If you go past 5, you got to go
It has
to 7.
to be an odd number.
It does.
What can you tell us a little bit more
Well,
about
look.
why?
Initially, there is the Holy Trinity.
Yes, sure.
The Father, the Son, and the,
The
Holy
Holy-
Ghost.
the Holy
We know
Ghost.
this. We know this because of our brainwashing.
Right.
Yes.
But then there is the rule of 3s. And then there's the 3 pillars. And things happen in 3s. And that's why I believe there are 3 beats. It just seems right. But sometimes if you overshoot it and go to 4, you can't stop there. See what they say in improv when they say in life, what done once, if done twice, must be done 3 times. Right? So if something happens in a scene once, okay. Or in a show once, all right. But if it happens a second
It's a
time,
coincidence.
yes.
Yes.
It needs to happen a third
Right.
time.
Yes.
But if it happens a 4th time, then it should happen a 5th time.
There's something, there's so many things I want to ask you about, but one of the things I would like to hear your input on is you've done something which I think few people have done, which I'm going to be as bold to say mastered both art and business, which to me feel like very different hemispheres of the brain.
To me too.
And I feel like very few people are able to do that. It's ambidextrousness to me.
Well, I would say I do them both poorly, but I do the best I can because there's no way to do them perfectly or
Yeah.
well. And it's like sailing. And I was telling somebody who works with me today, one of my team members, because we're going through some stuff, I said, look, small business is just like sailing. Sometimes there are smooth sailing and enjoy it and appreciate it. And then there's rough seas, and that's part of sailing. So I don't know if I do it well, but thank you for saying that. I do the best I can. I do it, I guess, I don't know, out of a necessity, a sense of like, is anybody going to do this? Oh, they're not? Okay, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah. Is that why you decided to open a theater?
You mean the Pit in 2002? Well, I was 33, which is the age of reckoning. It's the time whether you either check out as an improviser and a human being or you keep going.
Double down.
For
yeah.
me, that was Belushi. He left us at 33. Farley left us at 33.
Did you know either of them?
I had met Chris a few times and had one very amazing exchange with him that basically pushed me to keep going. Bruce Lee left at 33.
Mm-mm.
Christ left at 33.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesus, sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I have the Eagle Plan, which I was telling you about.
Yeah.
11-11.
At 11-11.
We were just talking about 33.
That's right.
Whoa.
11-11.
Hey.
That's when we do our show, Matt Higgins and I. This chair is. May I switch it out for this?
Totally. Make yourself
Switching out chairs.
comfortable.
Thank you. That chair is not designed for people of my bottom size. It seems like it's pushing me out.
I very much
Slightly
empathize.
better, but the foam is gone, but I'll take it. I'll
Okay.
take it. I'm appreciative because right now, this year, I'm engaging in what I call radical gratitude
Okay.
or ratitude.
Sure. How's it going so far?
Phenomenal, because I got this chair, and instead of being upset because there's no foam
Yeah.
in this old office chair and being pushed out of this other hardcore plastic chair, which looks nice, looks great in a photo,
It's a
but
pleasing
sitting
shape.
in it
Yeah.
is not for me.
Chad,
true.
it's hard to. You're saying you're not upset, but you seem upset with me, Chad.
Listen, I'm not. Look, Carl. Look, when Chad gets upset,
Okay.
I usually, I'll talk about myself in the third person.
I respect. One of the reasons I respect you so much is because, without irony, you refer to yourself in the third person, and I respect it. There's something about it that makes you carry yourself in a certain way, but it also makes me extra sensitive when you get upset with me, Chad.
Carl, you'll know when I'm upset.
Okay.
You'll know because I will raise my voice.
Please don't.
I will
Chad.
knock things off of desks. I'll clear the table. All right, Carl? So right now I'm not upset.
Okay.
Hey, Carl. Here are those files that you asked me to. Oh, hi.
Regina, tread lightly, please.
Hi, Regina.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Yes, so nice to see you.
Thank you for the files, Regina.
Yes, they were summoned. I was summoned to bring them in.
Well,
so-
I mean, it's part of your job, Regina.
yes.
I don't know if summoned seems more like a Lord's court or something.
Well, it's how do I say this? Well, we want to keep you happy.
Am I Billy in the Field from the Twilight Zone, guys? Is there a reason that I've created this kind of energy where you feel like you have to not upset me?
Well, it's just when you get upset,
Storm out, and we don't hear from you for days, and we
And-
need your signature.
and it's a little scary. If I'm being honest, it's a little scary.
I'm going to apologize. I want to tell you, when I storm out of here, usually what I do is I go to a rental car place and I rent a car. And if they got a convertible, I'll take that and I'll just drive. And I'll listen to music. And I'll say to myself, I'm sorry. And I'll say, why do you get so angry / scared? Because anger is fear, Carl and Regina.
Wow.
So I don't say to myself, why am I angry? I say to myself, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Not why are you getting angry? So I apologize. I apologize for my
Oh.
behavior.
Need your time.
I mean, you've never apologized before. This
Why?
is like a brand new side.
It's a new side of you, Chad.
I suppose that's why this is the moment. That
Wow, it's a new year. It's a new side.
New year, new Chad.
Wow, Chad.
Chad is really working hard to try to step into his own power,
Yeah.
his own presence by not menacing people, not yelling at coworkers.
But you could do as CEO of this company. You could.
I
you
could easily.
You could.
throw your weight
Look,
around.
I couldn't as much as I used to now that there's cell phones and recording devices and we've been through an awakening.
Yes.
God, 15, 20 years ago, as a CEO, I could do whatever I wanted.
That's
You
true.
put a pizza
Yeah.
on a man's head.
I could
Hot
make him
pizza.
scared.
He still talks about it sometimes.
Yeah. I could, and I don't know why I did, but I put a hot pizza at that holiday party.
He
on
got
top of his
burned.
head. He did, and I covered his costs. I said, look, I'm sorry. Let me cover you for that. Paul, I'm sorry I put a hot pizza on your head at the holiday party.
You've really come a long way, Mr. Chad.
Yoga,
Convertibles.
TM,
Sure.
convertible driving,
Yeah.
picking out a great pair of underwear that I like and getting a dozen pair of them.
Yeah.
One type of sock that I really enjoy and just buying those.
Wow.
You seem changed and relaxed. I'm glad Regina pointed it out because I would have overlooked it. But you have really grown and changed.
Yeah.
You've not been aggressive. You've been very easy.
Very zen.
This box of files, each of them requires your signature.
Yes.
Well, what I've done to make it easier is I've got my signature stamp.
Oh,
So now both of you will have a stamp of my signature.
wonderful.
And it'll be in an ink that's rainbow, so it can't be, forged. So you just take that stamp and you roll it in the rainbow ink.
Chad, where are you going?
Everyone
Get
likes
out of the room.
rainbows.
I'm going to drive for a while. I'm going to do route.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to do that old route that goes across the country
Can you
from
tell
New York
us
to L.A.
how
Wow.
long it's going to be?
Probably take me 5 to 6 days to drive out to
Okay,
L.A. and
well-
then I'll take a train back.
Please give us the stamp before you leave.
The stamp is in the box in front of you.
Oh,
Oh,
If
fantastic.
you
What a
open
relief.
the box, you both have it and you have my signature.
all right.
Appreciate you, Chad. We'll see.
Guys,
you
I
soon.
don't know if I'm going to come back.
Well,
And
Mr.
if
Chad.
if you look on your desk, you will see documents
This
that
is
make
your
the two of
business.
you owners of this business. I've had my day in the sun.
Mr. Chad,
I've got more money than I can ever use, and I have no desire for clothing or watches.
That's a motorcycle helmet. You're in a convertible.
That's right.
I don't know what to say.
It's an old-timey convertible.
So generous.
Well, I can't take it with me. And whatever I have cannot be put in the crematorium with me. When they burn my body and take my ashes and do what you want with them, flush them down the toilet if you like.
You're pretty healthy
no.
and young.
Yes,
We all, but tomorrow is promised to nobody.
that's true.
We don't know what's going to happen. Jamie Dean left us at 25. He was young and beautiful.
He
He
was
left
beautiful.
a beautiful corpse.
Regina's been studying for her MBA.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I really,
This has been.
I've been learning a
your
lot. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail,
I'm poised
Regina.
to take over.
You're welcome to take over because you know
Wow.
why? Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Oh gosh.
And you'll see why. And you'll see if you don't have urges to dump a hot pizza on someone's head.
Okay.
You may.
Yeah.
Resist the urge because there are cameras everywhere now.
Okay.
Everybody's recording and everybody's waiting to take their one shot to bring down somebody.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chad.
I gotta confess,
Enjoy your retirement.
I'd rather that you were upset with me than leaving, Chad.
When I think about it, I would prefer that you were upset instead of leaving.
I think that's slightly Stockholm syndrome.
Scene.
Okay.
good.
I guess that's it. All right.
That's very good.
I'm not used to seeing how that was done. We did it again. That happened quickly.
Yes.
You guys really love to improvise. You keep pulling me into scenes, right?
Yes,
I think we're just going to talk while I'm sitting down and the two of you are standing up. And it's kind of interesting
beautiful
dynamic in
and
this
perfect.
radio-free Brooklyn at 199 Cook Street.
We're
what
here.
Brooklyn sounds like.
We're here live.
Live on Radio Free Brooklyn. I mean, this is amazing.
I love it. I wonder what your take on this is. One of the reasons I wanted to do this show is because for me, the New York improv scene is a very particular thing and it feels a very particular way. And I never found anything like media that could really portray that, like what it feels like to be at a late night pit jam. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make a show that feels that way. And so this is the closest thing I could find is just talking, jumping into scenes. You know what I mean?
God bless. I love it. Good for you. You did it. You've done 108 of them.
Yeah.
I also want to tell you this story, Ellie. I wonder if you remember this. Before I went to do my bicycle tour, I remember Matt Yakel. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Matt Yakel was a merchant marine.
The
Great
beautiful
guy.
Matt Yakel.
Loved
Yeah.
to go out to sea.
Yeah.
I hope to see him again. So I don't know where he is now. But he goes, I was being secretive about it. I didn't, because I was very nervous about it. And Matt Yakel goes, "Hey, Ali, guess what this guy's going to do?" And you're like, "Oh, what's he going to do?" And he's like, "This guy's going to ride his bicycle around the United States." And you were just like, "God bless." And that's all I remember. And I was like, you were like, "Wow, what is this?"
I mean, I vaguely remember it, but I mean,
Yes.
even when I thought about it, I said, this guy, even tonight, as I said, there's a lot of resistance for a guy like me who's been around the sun as many times as I have to leave my comfortable home
With all the chores.
and take the 6 to the L.
At
And
10
then
o'clock at night.
At 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at night. But I left earlier because I don't want to be late.
Right. You were.
To me 15
very
minutes
early.
early is on time. On time
Sure.
is late. Late is unacceptable. Practice like you play. If you say you're an actor, practice like you play. Be there half hour early. Get a coffee. Do whatever you got, but don't make people question whether you're going to be there.
Sure.
I knew you were already worried because there were multiple confirmation emails and texts of
Even with Aston, each week I'll confirm
That's
at
true,
least
yeah.
once or
I
twice.
like a reminder.
which is fine. And I
you
just
know.
realized there was some something in the past that someone else had not shown or shown up late or made you guys feel. So I said, that's not going to be me. But I had to push past a lot of resistance gator. But then I thought to myself, this guy rode a bike around the country doing Shakespeare in parking lots. And now he's doing a show, and he's been a loyal Pitison. You've done shows, you've taken classes, you've come to jams. You came to Matt Higgins and I's 11/11 Make-A-Wish jam.
Yes.
And so I said, look, just put one foot in front of the other. For me, I got to break it down into parts.
Sure.
So the parts were go home from my, what I do during the day, my work chores, break my fast because I'm intermittent fasting, walk the dog, brush my teeth again, get layered up, and then the steps.
You made it.
Walk to the 6 train at 51st, the 6 to the 14th Street stop. Walk to the L. Take the L to Morgan. From Morgan, walk to 199 Cook Street.
Here you are.
Where Radio Free Brooklyn is, what Brooklyn sounds like.
Is there my picture of you is someone who is, because I know like stories of like what's the story? You're saying the F word at a
It's a little more complicated than that, but yes, okay.
At a what is it? IO
At
show?
a high school Second City prom show. But again, let's not. I mean, come on.
Adventure, but I just know you to be like an adventurer who's going to take a risk, jump out there. I'm going to try this. But then there's also a side of you is like, this is my routine. I got these things to do. I need to focus on these things.
Well, I mean, as I say, my life is filled with meaningless errands, but they must be done. Right? Because as I say to the folks who work with me at the Pit and other locations, we don't work in an ER. We don't work in the West Wing. We work at a comedy theater. It should be fun, but we do have work to do because there are people who count on us to make sure the spaces are clean and organized and they can show up and do a show or take a class, and the teacher should just be able to show up and teach. So, but in order to do that, there's a lot of micromanaging that has to happen. And look, do I micromanage? Yeah. You got to, because places fall apart.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Oh, yes.
And every day, by the end of the day, we have to reset the spaces. We have to fold blankets. We have to reset chairs. We have to put things back so that in the morning we can begin again. But again, you don't have to look too far. Right now, Los Angeles is on fire.
Yeah.
People
Oh my gosh.
have lost their homes.
Wow.
Not to mention the rest of the world. And I don't want to get political, but all the 55 different conflict zones in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe over 100 if you count skirmishes and minor wars and fights. So it's like, what I do is, I'm very blessed, which is why I've adopted gratitude.
Yeah.
Radical gratitude.
It's beautiful and it's needed. I think a lot about this kind of life that we've chosen to be like a comedian, and what what does that do when you're living in a world of like, it's parts of it is on fire, there's war. Sometimes it makes perfect sense to me, and sometimes I'm like, I should be doing something real.
Well, I try to do what I can where I am. So I try to get as many LOLs in a day from people who have no idea who I am. And I sometimes carry around a counter with me and I count my LOLs.
Wow.
From where I get them with someone maybe at the dry cleaner, right? When I get it at a bodega. And I make different people laugh because I'm like, they don't know, but it's still a laugh. And then something I've been doing lately with the help of the great Sean Wickens is I'll see somebody on our blog. He's a great Sean Wickens. I love Sean Wickens. Yeah. One of the things that I've been doing with his help is upgrading people's signage around businesses in our area. So someone's got a sign that says tax ID required, but it looks weathered and worn. I'll ask Sean if he can make a nice tax ID required sign or a please don't smoke sign. And Sean will do it for me, and he never makes me feel put upon. And then we will print it and laminate it, and I will drop it off. Today, he made me a sign that just said, we have oatmeal at a new bodega that opened up. But they had kind of a shoddy, we have oatmeal sign. They had another sign that said hot food, $9.99, but it was kind of shoddy. So Sean, gets me. He's cracked the code on my graphic design, which is big, bold, Helvetica, black and white, contrasting colors, So I've been doing that lately. I don't know how long it's going to last, but if I have someone like Sean to help me, And then I have another young man who is helping me paint mailboxes around the pit area. So I will pay him, and he'll pay him for materials, and he'll go and paint graffitied mailboxes green again.
Okay.
So I enjoy doing those things because, again, we can't change the world, but we can try to change our little corner of it. Right, where we live. Picking up garbage, and Pioneers, the bar that is the sister business to the pit, that really, allows the pit to do what it does, because people go to Pioneers, and then Pioneers helps support the pit in many ways. We sweep the streets, the caretakers do, every morning and every afternoon on 29 between 6 and 7 on both sides of the street, because I realized the cavalry is not coming. Nobody is coming to help us. They're only coming to give us tickets and fees and violations. They're not coming to repaint the mailboxes. They're not coming to sweep the streets on a daily basis. They're not looking to beautify. They're not going to paint the fire hydrants bright red. That's up to us. So, with the help of Sean Wickens and others, we try to do what we can where we are.
Yeah, small kindnesses around the neighborhood.
Yes. And I enjoy seeing it too.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, all right. And then when I see it get tagged, I realize everything's an act of love or a cry for help. That graffiti artist tagging it is crying for help, saying, I want to be a painter. How come someone doesn't notice me? If I leave my mark, it means I was here. It's all fending off mortality. So when it gets tagged, I send a picture and a text and say, hey, can you touch this up? And they do. I'd love to be there when that graffiti artist sees their tag repainted green, the mailbox. Who's doing this? Why are they doing it?
Every time.
Maybe you'll find out someday, solve the mystery.
That's the movie. That's the short film if I run across the person.
What I wonder if or how you think about this. I think what do you think about the larger matrix of comedy, improv theaters, the pit, where it sits, what purpose it serves, or are you just focused on day to day? I gotta run the place.
Well, first of all, Mr. Ralph Jean-Pierre.
Yes, sir.
This year, another thing I've tried to do is turn my I got tos into I get tos. I don't got to run the pit. I get to.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. So even tonight, pushing past the resistance of coming to 199 Cook Street in Bushwick, which again, I'm not used to as a Manhattanite. I had to utilize the tool. I don't have to go. I get to go.
I love that tool.
Yeah.
Because the ego wants to stay home. It's cold. Why am I doing this? How is this going to benefit me? The soul says it's an adventure.
Yeah.
And so, in the broader scheme, I wish the best for every comedy theater, whether it's improv or a stand-up comedy theater or a clown theater. Anybody who's doing comedy theater or theater of any kind, God bless you. I hope the best for you, because it's not easy. And I hope you got into it for the right reasons. And I think eventually when we start rebuilding the world where we've created war and famine and genocide and fire, it will have to incorporate some 50-seat black box theaters that have an art gallery in the lobby, an office of some kind, a nice green room, and a risers. There are two kinds of theater. One where there's risers and you perform on the ground, or the people are on stage and the stage is raised and the audience is on the ground. It can also be everybody's on the ground.
Yeah.
Start with what you got. Put a carpet down as the stage. Peter Brook, The Empty Space.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
So it can just be an empty room, painted black with some lights, clip lights, So, no, I hope everybody, there's room for a lot of theaters and spaces of different sizes.
One of the things I love, which felt very in keeping with the spirit of the pit as I've always known it, is there was a particular energy that I think is still there, but coming as we were trying to roar out of the pandemic, what was happening at the pit, particularly with jams. And I always felt like when I was coming there around 2000 or 2022, 23, that there was more 23. There was energy of oh, people were excited to come back and do jams and stuff. I always felt like the pit one of the greatest strengths of the Pit, more than anything else, is probably its greatest strength. I love the improv that happens there, but I think one of its greatest strengths is community. It's so good at that.
Well, it's important. And I've come through a lot of different communities through my life in different various shapes and forms. And I've been part of communities. And, we build and we create what we need. I needed community. I need a place to go. I need a group of people. But coming out of the pandemic, I couldn't have done it without people like Sonny Atwell.
Sonny's been on this show. Shout out Sonny. Yeah.
So without Sonny and someone like Sonny who came in and helped, we had to meet people where they were. And where they were is they didn't know if they had the money for an 8-week class. They didn't know if they had the commitment to go 8 weeks at a time. So we had to meet them with mics and jams and drop-ins to get started. I think it's something that made it easier for people.
Yeah.
To wrap their head around. I mean, it's hard to even think, and we were talking, Aston, before, of it'll be 5 years, March 12th,
since the start of
2025, since the lockdown. The lockdown to me, March 12th, 2020 is one of my days. Like 9/11 is one of our days. January 6th is one of our days.
Yes.
For me, growing up, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was one of my days because I was still young enough where it was every year celebrated. Now, past 3 to 4 years, people don't even talk about Pearl Harbor. So March 12th, 2020 became the day because it was the first official locking it down and saying, you cannot do theater anymore. With no real sense of when can we.
Yeah.
And they always push it off. Oh, you'll be able to do it by the summer, then by the fall. We were closed for 14 months in person. Pioneers was shut down for 14 months. And then we were allowed to reopen. It wasn't even at full capacity. So I don't know. I think with that, a lot of times people, they want to call me the owner of the Pit or whatever. It's like, what do I really own? The landlord owns the building. And if the landlord doesn't pay property tax in 2 years, the city owns the building. So who owns anything? There is no outright ownership in this world, really. People say, I own an apartment in New York. You do? Do you have a mortgage? Yeah. Well, then the bank owns your apartment. Do you own an apartment? Yeah. Is it paid off? Paid off completely. But you got maintenance, right? Yeah. So your co-op board owns your building. You don't own it. Because if you don't pay maintenance, you lose it. So there is no real ownership. So that's why I try to wear it as lightly as I can. Because, I've been a part of a lot of other comedy theaters. And at some point, almost all of them have been transferred to somebody else.
Yeah, it does move around. It is interesting. It's been interesting my time in New York, just watching the movement of all this stuff. Even I remember watching during the pandemic from afar, wondering what things would survive. What's going to happen with the asylum? What's going to happen with Simple? What's going to happen with the Pit? What's going to happen with all these different things? And it was a sense of nothing is permanent. Everything moves around.
It was scary also. People died.
Yes.
And that's what I was talking about beforehand. The perspective that I tried to use throughout it was I didn't make funeral arrangements, which a lot of people did. I didn't have to say goodbye to someone in an ER through glass. I just surrendered 5 businesses. And during the pandemic, I had to come up with a sentence for myself to say through gritted teeth to stay positive. And the sentence was, I can't speak for anybody else in the world, but the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, if I said to myself, if I don't say that in the first year or so, as we surrendered 5 businesses in that first year, I don't know if I'll be able to say it in 5 years. So I had to fake say it in the early years to hopefully be able to say it 5 to 10 years later.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd because for me, the first few years of the pandemic were 2 of the best years of my life. I was having a great time. And then as the pandemic lifted, I had a massive break in my life and then had 2 of the hardest years of my life. As everything was opening up and it was like, oh, we can breathe again. And still in that time I had to adapt. I don't think I was as positive as you were, but I was definitely there's got to be a reason this is happening.
Well, again, I don't mistake what I'm saying. I wasn't being positive necessarily. I was faking it. But the mind doesn't know you're just saying something.
Yeah.
It believes it.
You're programming.
Yes.
Yeah. I do it every day. I say positive things
What did
to
you
myself.
did you have an exercise that you did through the pandemic or coming out of it to help you?
I think, I mean, I was living alone at the time. I had a lot of alone time, and for part of it, I had like a very creative time. That was kind of, a nice surprise, maybe from just all the solitude. But I did a lot of creative work during that time that I'm proud of. But I don't know, I was really taking it day by day then, I think. But just I really remember how it felt during those days. Like the vibe was palpable, you know, in the grocery store, like everybody looking at everybody else, like, is it you? Do you have it? Are you going to give it to me? You know, and like
God
food not
forbid
being
you
on the
cough.
shelf.
Yeah.
It was really intense. And I definitely look forward to the communal, celebration for the healthcare workers every night.
Yes. Wow, I forgot all about that.
But yeah, I just I leaned into the solitude, I suppose. And
I'm just taking it day by day. Just taking it day.
One day at a
Taking
time.
it day by day.
You got to.
Slow motion.
Yeah.
Slow motion.
Slow
day
and
by day.
steady.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
I really just want to say I like to pass you on the street.
Yeah.
I like it. It makes my day when I pass you.
Yeah, you too. And it takes up most of the day. Listen, Tortoise, I want you to win this race. And I think that you can.
Let's not make it all about the goal.
And
Let's
I'm going to
just
support you.
enjoy me passing you. Let's just enjoy. Please.
It's nice because it's a lengthy pass.
I'm taking my time.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be all about me winning or losing. I want it to be about the journey of me
Sure.
moving
It's
forward.
the journey that matters.
You know, I feel like you're rooting me on, and I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But
What
I
are
just-
best friends for?
That's the first time you've said that. Wow. I have to keep going, though. I feel like we can talk more about this.
Yeah.
Number 22. What do you want? Tortoise, what do you want? You get the same thing every day. What's your order?
A lot has happened today. I don't know if I'm going to get the same order.
Scooped out everything bagel with salmon cream cheese. It's what you get every day, Tortoise.
I might want to try something on a ciabatta. I only have a few minutes. I can't lollygag because I'm in the middle of a race.
It's up to you. You want to pass your number to 23, that's fine. You're 22. I called 22, you're 22. You want it? You don't want it? Pass. You want to get a ciabatta? Get a ciabatta with scallions and cream cheese.
You need fuel for the race.
You don't want to get your
should
scooped
eat.
out everything bagel with salmon cream cheese? That's up to you.
Hal, have you ever had a best friend?
A best friend?
A best friend.
Yeah, I had a best friend once. He was a busboy named Julio. Julio, he got me. One day, Julio was in the kitchen.
Your eyes
Washing
are
dishes.
moistening.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm crying, thinking about Julio. He taught me something. I said, Julio, you got the toughest job in this place, but you're always happy.
Mm.
I said, why are you so happy, Julio? He said, I used to always be upset and angry because I had so much work to do. He said, until one day I turned all my work into play. Now I play all the time.
Wow, that's a great mindset.
That's a
He
good
went back
friend.
to his home country.
Hmm.
He's got 2 houses there. Here, he was a dishwasher. But in his own country, Julio had 1 house for his family and 1 for himself.
Wow.
You know what he was talking about? I told a friend, they said, that's called joyful effort. It's a Buddhist philosophy. It's putting and finding the joy in whatever you're doing. And Julio found it. Buddhists would kill to have found that philosophy, to have it. But he just happened upon it in the woods,
Naturally.
Mm.
Wow.
organically.
What do you remember what Julio's favorite sandwich was?
Julio had a very particular sandwich. He liked a cinnamon raisin bagel
Oh, rare.
with a raisin cream cheese.
How I'd like a cinnamon raisin bagel with raisin cream cheese.
Yeah.
I'd like one of those split in half for me and my best friend.
Thanks.
I'm going to get you a Julio cut in half.
One Julio, please, Hal.
This one's going to be on the Julio house.
I'm in the middle of a race right now.
Yeah.
We all are.
You can eat it on the road.
We all are, Hal. I'll put it on the top of your tortoise shell.
Thank you.
You can have it later when you finish it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You guys make a nice couple, tortoise and hare. Why don't you make a nice home for yourselves?
Well, technically, mine is on my back. Scene. Okay.
Whoa, you guys really call those scenes quick. You get that tag it and
Get
then
it
in and out.
Get it in there.
Get in and scene. I like that.
What
Sometimes we let it go.
Let 'em
Yeah.
go. This one, I thought that one.
It went a little bit. Yeah.
Man,
It
we
went a little bit.
We just playing.
What do you at this? Let's say in the last year or 2-3 years, do you feel like you've learned something that you can name, something new about improv or comedy that is a new thought to you?
Well, I mean, you know, I think of improv more like a yoga practice, not like an improv class, or it's just an improv practice. The reward of doing yoga is you get to do yoga, and it's like you do it as much as you can, you know. And with yoga, with improv, the reward of doing improv is you get to do improv. You get to have a vernacular and play with people. And like this tonight, like I guess I didn't really research this. So I don't know if I knew there was improv.
We could have told you
I don't say
in
a
advance.
lot purposely.
Yeah.
I purposely don't
And
say
so, you know, I mean, if you have an improv vernacular, you can go anywhere in the world and play with other improvisers. If you are yes and until you have to say no thank you, listen and react, make statements, not questions, commit, don't comment, heighten and tighten, all these things that become like stains sinking into good wood and become a part of you. I think I found a new love for improv. I do it now for love of the game. Anything that World of Improv was going to bring me, it has brought me tenfold. I'm very grateful for the fact that I somehow happened upon it in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, in Chicago. And it brought me to New York City. It's given me a life. It's given me a purpose. It's given me, you know, something to do, a place to go and do it, people to do it with. And, you know, I think I try not to beat myself up too much. We have this space called Global Comedy Studios next door to the Pit, 156 West 29th Street. And for 2 years, I allowed these 2 rooms to be just white rooms because I thought I wanted them to be more like bright white yoga studios and bright white kind of, you know, spaces. And then at one point I had an epiphany where I was like, you know what? I think these need to be painted black and turned into little theaters. So in the past month or so, 4 to 6 weeks, with the help of people who help me do these kind of things, we've painted both rooms black, put in stage lighting, and now we have the Fishbowl Comedy Room at 156 West 29th Street, a 22-seat black box comedy, stand-up comedy room. And we have the Pit Annex, which is, you know, like a 30 to 40 seat black box theater with stage lights and sound. And so, you know, and I try to, you know, periodically I go, what took you so long? Why did you wait? Why did it take 2 years for you to paint these black and turn them into theaters? Because I guess I was resisting, you know, the theater in me, the darkness, and I wanted it to be bright and white and light. And now when I walk in there, I'm like, awesome. I love them. People appreciate it. I like being in there. And it's like, it's okay to like know like yourself to be like, look, for better or worse, I'm black box theater, small black box community comedy theater spaces. You know, that's been kind of my career. And I prefer and enjoy the 99 seat theater and under. It's more intimate, I think. I think you're there with the people. You know, spaces that get larger, it gets a little bit more affected. You have to push a little bit more. Whereas a smaller space, you can kind of just be in a living room.
There's a romance to it that I love. I mean, maybe it's a little corny, but like the romance of like a small New York theater, it's a special thing. You know what I mean? And particularly those rooms I don't think are often filled with laughter. I think those rooms often are homes to things that are more serious and grave. So the fact that there's theater happening in them, but they're filled with laughter, I think that's a special thing in New York.
Well, and I think I was also waiting and I tried to open another space after COVID called Tin Pan Alley, a piano bar, dueling pianos, and it just wasn't the time. And it didn't quite work out. And luckily I found a great family who took over the space, and now it's a Korean fusion restaurant called Loopy's. And we're actually going to try to sell some of their food at Pioneers. So I think I was looking for where and how can I help by opening another space for community. And it was under my nose the whole time. It was the front, window room at GCS and our kind of workshop room at GCS that with a little black paint and lighting and decor became legitimate New York City black box spaces that would have been fine in the, at around the 2000s, the turn of the century, places like Surf Reality or, those places we used to go to, Solo Art Center, which were really rooms painted black with some lights.
Yeah, that's all it was. Before we're coming to the end. Soon.
Whoa.
I would like, if you can, both or either, an early UCB story and an SNL story.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
About what? Or just in general?
Anything. Yeah, anything. Anything that whatever comes up.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think about those times too often, I don't know. All right, what would be okay. I mean, here's an SNL story that, for me that I like. I remember it's the 25th anniversary, and it was the show for the 25th anniversary show.
Wow.
And I was going to it because I was the only writer hired. And, obviously everybody was going to the 25th anniversary show. But as a new writer, you weren't going to be able to sit in that audience. You were going to be sitting like in, Studio 6 on the 6th floor or, where Conan's studio was, because the room was packed with luminaries.
Right. Oh, wow.
And I had a friend of mine. I invited them to come with me. Ouch. There goes that part of the chair, the way it's designed, where my water bottle fell off. But that's life. Life is not perfect. Life is imperfect. Just go with the flow. So I was at the SNL 25th, and I was sitting in that room, and all of a sudden someone comes in, and they go, "Hey, we've got a few empty chairs in 8H if anybody wants to sit in there as like filler." And she looked at me, and she's like, "Go." And I was like, raised my hand. I was like, "Yes, and." And she's like, "All right, come with me." And then all of a sudden she took me into 8H. She goes, "You're right up there. Your seat's over to the left." I went and I sat down, and I was sitting behind the Smothers Brothers. To the right of me was Barry Bostwick. To the left of me was Tom Davis. And the next thing I heard within seconds was, 30 seconds to air. And I realized that I'd gotten to that seat with only 30 seconds to spare in my life. And the journey began for me Christmas Eve of '89 when I had my epiphany watching Saturday Night Live, where I thought to myself, I want to write for this show at some point in my life. And I went up to my room that night on a yellow notepad. I wrote down what became later, I realized, a running order of cold open. I didn't know what they were called, but it was like the cold open, the monologue, the first, commercial parody. And so to be able in a decade to go from having this epiphany, and the only reason I knew about the word epiphany is because of my teacher, Patty Stoltz, reading James Joyce's Portrait of an Artist. And in that book, he talked about the idea of epiphany, these moments of aha. And being in the SNL 25th anniversary, audience. And with that 30 seconds to air, realizing that it all worked out.
Yeah.
Exactly worked out the way it should.
Were you able to really feel like you belonged there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was there.
Yeah.
I was in the audience. And then, there was a bit with Victoria Jackson and that was filmed in the 25th anniversary show. And Tracy Morgan is sitting a few rows in front of me. And there is a screenshot of me on, camera in the audience of the 25th anniversary show. So that to me was kind of a magical moment.
Very magical. Yeah.
UCB, I mean, I loved, being one of the founding people to do it. But again, I was at a time where I was just, these guys were doing this thing and we all liked each other and, started doing more stuff outside of Improv Olympic. And I remember, one of the first times we did a show was midnight at this place called Kill the Poets on Pulaski North, maybe. And it was a sketchy neighborhood, but we would do our 2 shows at Improv Olympic. We were very lucky because Sharna gave us a lot of stage time. So we would do our house team shows Thursday, 2 on Friday, and 2 on Saturday. So we did 5 shows a week with Sharna for 3-4 years. And that's how we got so much stage time. The people we, Adam McKay, Ian Roberts, Matt Besser, Neil Flynn, Pete Holney, the people that, Miles Stroth, who became kind of the 6 of us that kind of performed together for 4 years. But then we wanted to do more. We wanted to do sketch. That's how hungry we were. So that's how kind of UCB was formed. It was formed out of the desire that we just wanted to perform more and wanted to do sketch, and we really liked each other and liked each other's company, and we each fulfilled kind of like a different role in an offense. Okay. And appreciated each other and all respected each other, but really didn't care what each other thought of each other.
Okay.
We didn't care what the other thought of us, but we genuinely liked each other, and there was a friendship. And then we did this first UCB show at Pulaski North at midnight, and it was packed. And I couldn't believe it. Like, these people had come out to the middle of nowhere at midnight based on flyers and phone calls. There was no emails. There was no mechanism. It was, glue and flyers taped up on posts and poles. And then we passed a top hat around. And I remember that top hat got filled with bills, with green paper, with dollars. And we each I think made like $12 or something, but it was like the first time there was a sense of like, oh, this could be something. And, just kind of the exuberance of a novice, the joy of being in that kind of cold Chicago, Northern Pulaski, and doing the show with people you liked, and it was being midnight. And that's why it's hard for me to, like even this thing when you told me it was 10:30, I was like, 10:30? Yeah, we don't record till 11. I'm like, I'm not going to get out till midnight. And we weren't doing shows until midnight after having already done 2 shows. So those were 2 kind of like, when you ask me, obviously there's hundreds of stories for each of those places.
Those are great
Those
stories.
acronyms that you mentioned. And along with Second City is one of my, fraternities. I mean, you have to really connect the dots, and, there is no pit without, IO. There is no me being at Second City without IO. There is no IO without Second City. There's no annoyance without IO in Second City. And then there's no, pit without, me coming to New York City to do SNL, and me being a part of UCB. And then, again, part of, you asking me why I started, I was 33. It was post 9/11. There was this feeling in New York City of like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm either going to go out to Los Angeles with my peers and try to get on a show and be maybe top 5 or 10 on the call sheet, get on some show, or I'm going to, stick it out in New York. And I'd been to Los Angeles for a year in the 90s, and I love LA, and I wish them the best right now. My heart's breaking for the people I know going through it and the people I don't know going through these fires. Yeah. But I wasn't a fan of driving. I prefer a walking, and I love New York City. I love walking around. I love subways. I love buses. I love people. I love the diaspora and being able to see so many different things in a day. I love the architecture. So I'm blessed to have lived in LA for a year to know, like, I like it, and I'm happy to go there for work, and I love the weather and the fruits and vegetables, but I prefer living in New York. Yeah. And so for me, it was, and I'd been an apprentice for 13 years, at other places. I was an apprentice at the Improv Olympic. I was an apprentice at the Second City. I was an apprentice at SNL. I was an apprentice at UCB, but I guess it was kind of like the movie Limitless, where when the time came, I kind of knew how to do it poorly, open a theater. Yeah. And there was the right time in New York City improv comedy. There were the right people around me at the time who wanted to do it with me. And there was the right space. And, initially when I left just to get a loft space to teach more writing and improv classes.
And that turned into...
But there were risers at 154 West 29th Street. So when I saw that space, I called. There was a sign in the window that said theater/assembly hall for rent. And I was more curious about the assembly hall. And then when I saw it, I was like, there are risers in here. I was like, oh, wow, this could be like a theater. Because to me, a theater seemed like a bigger deal. And then I was like, oh, so that's how it actually became a theater and not just a loft space to teach out of.
So this is how it happens, huh?
Yeah, and I felt, my sense was, Ralph, that you were looking at the clock and thinking, our time has come to an end.
Our time is it's coming to a close.
Yeah, not quite yet. Couple minutes
All right.
left, but we're winding it
It's
down.
flown by. Thank you for having me. I'm
my
grateful
gosh.
that I pushed past all my fear and resistance.
Terrence, our time is coming to a close.
Yes, Terrence.
Hey, nothing lasts forever. Am I right?
You've been You've been very optimistic through this.
Hey,
whole
but
So
you got to be
amazing.
optimistic. I adopt an attitude of gratitude because I'm alive. I beat out 500,000 sperm to be here today.
You were gonna. This is the egg.
You
will
really
be
did it.
allowed to fertilize this egg.
That's right.
Terrence.
That's right. I get to.
You get
I
to
don't have to.
fertilize.
I get to fertilize this egg.
Congrats.
You were a real pill among the group of sperm.
Yeah.
I didn't have my money on you.
Feel free to call me T-sperm.
I'm content to call you Terrence.
All right.
I'm gonna call you Terrence.
Whatever works for
Yeah.
you. Whatever you're comfortable with.
There's some instructions. There's some things that you need to know that Gloria is going to tell you about.
Yeah.
Before you,
All right.
So you just
Terrence, your boots.
you got to be efficient,
Yeah.
direct.
Okay.
You got to take off your boots.
Okay.
And I think those are the
That's
big
all
things
of
you
it.
need to know. Yeah.
That's all doable. Look, if it ain't a deal breaker, Terrence don't make a big deal about it.
Yeah. Well, we're happy for you. You know, we're just gonna die off.
I don't want to be.
I'll take you with me
pessimistic.
forever. You'll be a part of my life forever. Now, even though I'm the sperm that did the
The
job,
winning sperm.
even though I'm the women's sperm, you guys will be a part of me.
Oh, that's nice.
Because if you'd made it, you'd just be a different version.
That's not our place, Terrence.
Yeah.
It's you. It's your
It's,
position. to
yeah,
take. You-
I'm
carry
psyched
you.
for you.
I will
been
carry
elected.
you with you in my heart for all my days as a human. Now, I don't know if my time as a human will be 1 minute, 1 day, 1
Wow.
year, or 100
Never
years.
know.
Nobody knows.
But I
Nobody
will meet
knows.
up with y'all on the other side.
Wow.
Okay.
Thanks, Terrence.
And maybe you'll be there to welcome me home. Because in a way, we're all just walking
Wow.
each other home.
I'm
Well-
going to choose to believe you that you won't forget about us.
Yeah.
And you'll seek us out.
we wish you the very best.
I thank you.
We've done a lot of. We're just going to do some paperwork here while you're going, and it's a lot of things to stamp and file. But yeah, I feel confident. I feel like you're the best one.
Yeah.
For the job.
Totally.
I just got lucky, y'all.
I just
What's up?
there's just something about the southern accent that you're putting on that makes it more heart. That something about it that's tugging at me.
Well, you know, I grew up in a holler.
This is a we're just inside of a testes.
Yeah, but even that has lower areas.
That's true.
So anything that's a lower area is a
It's a
holler.
holla.
You were built to fertilize that egg.
Yeah. Proud of you.
Thank
Proud of
you.
you, friend.
You guys are classy.
Godspeed.
Hey, did you win or did you learn?
We learned,
Yeah,
Terrence.
That's right.
Well, I
Don't swim
learned.
against Terrence. Terrence is going to win.
Where did you get that toothpick?
Oh, I made that.
See? All right. We're at the end here. At the end. This is Radio Free Brooklyn. You're listening to listener-supported independent radio. Please support us here, and we take donations here at Radio Free Brooklyn. Ali, what do you want the people to know?
Oh, yes.
How do they follow you? How do they find you?
Well, I guess, what I want the people to know is find your own happiness. Take an improv class just for the joy of taking it wherever you are, wherever is the closest and easiest to you.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
if you can get to the pit, great. thepit-nyc.com. Come to jams, mics, drop-ins, classes, or go to Pioneers, the bar, pioneersbar.com, or to Global Comedy Studios. But wherever you are in the world and you're listening to this, try to find a comedy theater where you can take an improv class, an acting class, a scene study class, a clown.
5 seconds.
5 seconds, and have the best life you can.
This has been No Suggestion. I'm Ralph Jean Pierre, Aston-Hollins.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ali.